Hey everybody, Dr. Robin here. As I mentioned in my announcement on Sunday night, we have someone new joining our community. I'm really excited that we have a teaching assistant joining us. That'll be partly to help support me just in making sure that we're responding to your posts and supporting you in that capacity, and also to be part of the conversation. So really excited to welcome Jocelyn. Thank you for joining us today. I know you also did a quick introduction of yourself, so we have that video up there as well. And today, Jocelyn and I will take a little bit of space to talk about this week's topic. You've all seen the primary podcast with myself and Professor Dana Castro, and Jocelyn and I thought we would add our own little mini podcast to that too, so that she can jump into the conversation with us about emotions and embracing and befriending our emotions. So yeah, Jocelyn, I'll first of all thank you for being here with us. Excited to talk more with you. And I'll invite you. Maybe just I know you've been sitting with everything we talked about this week as far as befriending our emotions. What's an area of that that kind of resonates for you when you think about that topic?
Well, first of all, hello class. It's wonderful to be joining you guys. I really look forward to it. Something that really stood out to me from the readings was the importance of self-love, self-compassion when analyzing those feelings. And so, something I've noticed personally, but also when working with clients, when those feelings come up and we're starting to acknowledge them, and label them, that sometimes we might feel like a lot of guilt attached to feeling those feelings, or really judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves for feeling a certain way. But as Dr. Robin discussed before, your feelings are valid. And so a big piece of that comes with analyzing and acknowledging those feelings is giving yourself grace for feeling those things. There's a reason why you're feeling it. It's stirring something up inside you. So give yourself grace, show yourself some love, show yourself some compassion, and then really reflect on, okay, in an unbiased way as much as you can, why is this coming up for me? This is telling me something. Let's take a moment to pause here and think about, why is this coming up for me?
Yeah, I like that when you say grace and self-love and self-compassion. I think we might even end up talking about that a little more in one of these weeks. I'm curious. I know I struggle with that sometimes with my feelings. I'm curious, do you struggle with that to give yourself grace and space to have the emotions you're having?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I think it's very common for students that are high achieving or put a lot of pressure on themselves to perform, that it's like, I don't have time to think about this. I don't have time to analyze that thought. I don't have time to analyze that feeling. Just keep pushing forward. And even people who have been on this journey for a while, sometimes it can still trip up of like, why do I feel this way? I feel guilty. I feel weird about it. Am I allowed to feel this? And so just showing yourself some compassion and thinking about why that's coming up for you.
Yeah, I think when you say guilty, I wrestle with that one a lot. I think I have a tendency to go, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just get
Mhm.
over this? There's almost like a little judge on my shoulder, sort of doing that to me. Like, get over it, Robin. Your life is not that bad. You're so lucky to have all these things.
Mhm.
And those things can be true at the same time. Like there's a lot in my life that I'm grateful for. I exercise gratitude. I do appreciate those things, but that doesn't negate that this experience was tough, that I am sad about this, or I am discouraged or worried or angry or whatever those other feelings are, that those are still valid at the same time. But when you said guilt, that's the one that hits for me. I think I tend to feel guilty sometimes for my feelings, and I have to stop and go, no, like feelings are valid. So when you say self-love and self-compassion and grace, I like those words in there. Um,
I think that's something I'm guilty of, is this downward comparison of like, oh, but somebody always has it worse than me. Like, yes, I'm struggling in the program, but other people have parents to take care of, they have kids to take care of, they have, multiple jobs. And so sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm not entitled to that because I know this person's going through something worse than me or more difficult than me. And so as if I can't feel those feelings. But they are just as valid. Being in grad school is hard, life is hard, and we're allowed to feel those feelings. And everybody's allowed to experience it differently.
yeah, I like that phrase you use, downward comparison. I think we all do that, or social comparison, right? We get caught in social comparison a lot. And we even talked about that the other day with our talk on imposter syndrome. One way we get caught in social comparison is we see other people doing well on something and we assume it's easy for them. And then we say, well, why can't I just do that the way they do it? And another way we do social comparison is that person has so much responsibility. I have no right to feel how I feel right now. But there is a lot that each one of us is carrying. So I'm glad you mentioned that. You and I were talking earlier also about how you kind of separate yourself at the same time from a feeling, which is almost contradictory, but I think these two ideas are important to play with. We want to embrace our feelings and hold our feelings and give ourselves permission to have those feelings or those emotions. But you brought an interesting piece into this too that I thought was valuable. Would you share a little bit of that idea of also knowing that I'm not that feeling?
Yes, and that's something called diffusion, which is separating yourself from that feeling, or that negative self-belief. So something I've seen a lot in my work, is clients have really bad depression, really bad anxiety, and they'll sit there and they'll acknowledge their feelings, and they feel like their depression is them. They've had depression for so long or it's so severe that they can't imagine who are they without that. What would they do? What would their goals and aspirations be? Like they can't even fathom a future moving forward without that being a part of their identity. So yes, your feelings are valid. Yes, acknowledge them. But sometimes in cases like with depression or anxiety, those feelings of depression, those feelings of anxiety don't have to be your identity. They don't have to be the core of who you are. You can acknowledge them, see it for what it is, and then, okay, how are we going to respond to this? So something for me that comes up so much is I have so much imposter syndrome, since you brought it up a second ago. And while I feel it, I acknowledge it. I'm anxious to sometimes speak up in class. I feel like, oh, I don't know enough. I don't know. Um, that doesn't mean that I am not good enough to be a part of the class. That doesn't mean I have to think that that's the only way I can move forward or that's me. I've been working on it where I acknowledge it. I acknowledge my anxiety in the class. It's stemming from imposter syndrome. And then I use my coping skills to address it. And then I've actually been participating a lot more in class. I've been a lot more involved. And so that's one way where we can acknowledge it for what it is, but that doesn't mean it's who we are as a person.
I love that. I think I deal with a lot of anxiety, and it's easy to just then, I am an anxious person. There's almost like this label written across my forehead that it's just a part of who I am. But I'm not always anxious, and I'm just as much me when I'm in those spaces where I'm relaxed or where I step into something without freaking out about it and just go like, oh, and that went well and it was fun. And to allow myself to have those experiences too, because I think, yeah, we can get attached to like, I am this anxiety, this fear, this depression, whatever it is, and then we're almost afraid to have other feelings or other experiences sometimes.
Mhm, mhm.
How do you recognize a feeling when it shows up? Do you feel like you're always able to recognize them?
No. Sometimes sometimes I'm good at it and sometimes I'm not, and that's okay. It's something, I'm working on. But a recent example that I have of that is, I'm a grad student, I'm in practicum, I have multiple jobs, doing research, and so I have a lot going on. And so I had one really busy day. I had so many things due. I had a lot going on. It was a really stressful day. And the whole day, I just felt so nauseous. Like, I thought I was ill. I thought something was wrong. I tried everything where I was like, oh, okay, I'll just eat some Tums. I'll,
Yeah.
eat that ginger. I'll drink that tea and, I'll move forward. I'll move forward. I have too much to do. I don't have time to think about this. I have deadlines I need to meet. And I was telling my partner, it was like the end of the day. I still had so much to do. And he heard me complaining about all of his, feelings I'm having of nausea and just stress. And he stopped me and he was like, "Do you think you're anxious?" And I was so mad. It's like, how dare you do my job for me? How I can't believe he called me. And he was right. I was so focused on what I needed to get done. and I didn't take a moment to pause and think about myself or think about what was going on for me, that I had completely neglected this really intense anxiety that I had been feeling the whole day. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm mad at you for calling that out, but thank you. I'm gonna do something about that. And so I had kept trying to push through my work for hours, but I was so nauseous I couldn't even read. And I
Mm,
was like, if I keep pushing through and ignoring this, what's the point? Because I can't even do my work physically right now. And so I took 20 minutes to go into another room. I turned on the lights, made it comfortable and relaxing. And I just spent those 20 minutes focusing on me, not thinking about what to do, not thinking about my work, just really focusing on being the present, acknowledging my feelings, and that this moment is for healing and taking care of myself. Then after
mm,
20 minutes, I wasn't nauseous and I got to finish my work. So instead of neglecting myself and trying to push through that, just those 20 minutes to take care of myself and acknowledge what was going on was so much more helpful than me trying to push through the feelings and ignore it the whole day.
mm. It's interesting when you mention, thank you for sharing that example too. It's a great one. When you mention that sometimes we're so busy, we feel like we don't have time to take space for that. I get caught up in that too. I'll have days where I'm kind of wound up and I'm like, but I have to do this and then I need to do this and then I need to do this. I don't have space to stop and honor that feeling. But then there are times when I have that exact experience where I'm also not doing the thing. Like I'm trying to read, but I'm not processing the information, or I'm trying to handle emails, but I can barely write right now. And so to stop and recognize that actually it's more productive, to stop and take that space and honor that feeling. But I think also I don't want productive to be the reason for it or the justification for it, because even if it's not quote unquote productive, I think it's meaningful if it's compassionate toward myself, which is kind of a radical
Mhm.
idea.
Exactly. And it can be difficult when we have all of these systems and people telling us you need to meet this deadline, you have to be this productive. Um, but I think we should challenge that. Why is that the norm? Why is it the norm to ignore ourselves and ignore our feelings and what's going on for us? And it's funny because, trying to push through and be productive and meet all these, hurdles and deadlines, in reality, it was counterproductive. I was actually less productive. And so sometimes we have to challenge that norm because in reality, it's holding us back and it's actually counterproductive.
Mhm. I like this. And as we're talking right now, I'm thinking this is laying the foundation for so many more conversations we're going to have over the next few weeks about definitions of productivity and about self-compassion and grace. And so I'm excited to be able to talk more with you as we continue the rest of this term together. So I'll be mindful of time and wrap us up there, but I think we just set some nice little tidbits that we're going to keep following up on. I'll say to all the students as we wrap this one up that Jocelyn will be joining us in responding to posts on the discussion board. So welcome her into that space. You'll hear from both of us going forward. Reach out to either one of us. And we're looking forward to continuing to be in community with you all. Jocelyn, thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day today.
Of course. Thank you, Dr. Robin, and everybody else.
Take care, everybody.